Article 1 of the Constitution gives Congress alone the authority to declare war. And I believe it's our most solemn power. Declarations of war and authorizations for use of military force are this committee's most consequential jurisdiction. And now we're 22 years past the 9/11 attacks. And while we've dramatically degraded those threats, we do face terrorists committed to our destruction. The bipartisan 9/11 Commission, led by New Jersey Governor Tom Kean, whose son is now on this committee, and former Democrat chair of this committee, Lee Hamilton, made clear that the fight against radical Islamist terror would be a, quote, generational challenge likely to be measured in decades, not years. For my years as a counterterrorism federal prosecutor and as former chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, I know that ongoing counterterrorism operations are legal and necessary and have saved us from many attacks. But Congress has not revisited our authorities in over 2 decades. 90% of current House members were not even here when Congress enacted the 2 key AUMFs still on the books. The 2001 post-9/11 AUMF has been used against al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and associated forces, including ISIS. 2002 Iraq AUMF was used against Saddam Hussein and also against terror threats in Iraq, including IRGC Commander Soleimani and Iran-backed militias. During that time, Congress has held hundreds of briefings and hearings. We've continued to appropriate funds for these engagements, but we haven't revisited the authorities Congress gave to the President 11 Congresses ago. War should not be on autopilot. Congress owes our troops a clear commitment to the missions we are asking them to undertake. We need to exercise our Article 1 war powers and stop our unhealthy ongoing deference to the executive branch. Our troops deserve that. My preference would be to repeal and replace all the AUMFs with a new, more limited authorization scoped to the terror threats that we face today. It would not apply to foreign nations or armed forces. It would not provide authority to occupy and reconstruct a country. There's also bipartisan interest in making a new AUMF time-limited so that Congress is required to review and reauthorize more regularly. Doing this is hard, and that's why we haven't done it in 22 years. To succeed, a new AUMF requires bipartisan, bicameral, and presidential support. And it will require us to answer tough questions, such as which terrorist organization should be covered. As mentioned, current authorities cover al-Qaeda, the Taliban, associated forces, including ISIS. But the administration is asking us to now exclude the Taliban and not add any new Iran-backed terrorist militias to any new AUMF. I have to say that I have some concerns with that. Those groups have killed more Americans and pose ongoing threats today. Iran-backed militias have attacked U.S. personnel in the Middle East more than 80 times since the start of the Biden administration. During the Iraq War, they killed more than 600 Americans. Taliban actively harbors terror threats, including Zawahiri, bin Laden's top lieutenant, and until recently, the leader of al-Qaeda. The operational brains behind 9/11 was living in downtown Kabul under the Taliban's protection. Many specially designated global terrorists serve as senior officials now in the Taliban government, including Interior Minister Haqqani, head of the Haqqani Network, which is a designated foreign terrorist organization. It is simply not credible to exclude these extreme ongoing terror threats from a new counterterrorism AUMF. When the President says he can just address them using his Article 2 powers, he is telling Congress not to exercise our exclusive constitutional authority. There's no consensus about the scope of the President's inherent powers to use force, except in cases of self-defense after we have been attacked. I want the President to have that clear authority. He does not need to wait for these terrorists to attack us first. So with that, I want to thank our panel here today and the Secretary. This is a very important discussion we will have today. I don't want it to be Certainly, this should not be a partisan exercise, but rather a bipartisan exercise. And I hope, it's my sincere hope, that we can come together and mark up a new AUMF by next month. And so with that, I'd like to recognize the ranking member, Mr. Meeks.